And welcome to another edition of the 13th Fleet's After Action Report. You will notice a new look with everything, but even though we've got the new look, we have the same sponsor. It is Admiral Tater's Ship Shop, so if you're looking for great accessories for all of your tabletop gaming needs, check him out. He's got stuff for Armada, of course, which you'll see as prize support for a lot of tournaments. You can also find his new stuff for, he's starting to work on things for Leviathan. He's been working on some things for Blood Bowl. So something that you definitely want to check out. Thank you for joining us this evening. Like I said, you'll notice a new look. We are doing a lot of things different. This is our first time doing the live stream through YouTube rather than Twitch. So I want to welcome you to this, and I have noticed that I have one problem as far as my audio is concerned, so I may be cutting in and out because I'm trying to kill whatever noise I'm getting in the line. I hope it's not too distracting for folks that are watching, but for now, we're going to bring the team on and say hello to everybody. So we've got Ruben with us.
How you doing, y'all?
We got Admiral Tater, Garrett himself.
Hey, everybody.
And we got Nick with us.
Hey guys.
So, given that we are new to YouTube here, you know, we've had our videos posted on YouTube, but we've never really actually gone live on YouTube, and we're actually trying to expand the audience and everything. And I felt this is a good time for folks to get to know us, to know why it is that we are doing this and why you might, why we have some insight on this. I did not prepare them for this question beforehand, so I'm going to go ahead and give you a quick rundown for me, and then we'll get to the rest of the team, let them say hello and let you know who they are. I have been an avid tabletop strategy fan for many years. I actually was playing the first edition of Necromunda when it came out in 1995. I've played in several Blood Bowl leagues. I was a competitive HeroClix player. I actually was part of the U.S. National Championship team that won the HeroClix Rock Cup in 2022. So yeah, I've played a few tabletop strategy games, really enjoy the hobby. And then I founded the 13th Fleet just a little bit over 2 years ago now. We were doing Star Wars gaming at first, primarily Armada. The games that I would like to learn and bring to this channel, as we're doing some expanded content here, would really love to try Corvus Bell Infinity online. I mean, that would be fantastic. Cyberpunk Combat Zone, I know Garrett and I have talked about that a little bit. And then there is a game called Super Dungeon Arena, which I'm sure most of you have not heard of, but it's got a real chibi anime aesthetic that it looks like a lot of fun. Okay, so Garrett, let's go ahead and start with you. You are dead. I'm not getting any audio from you.
What's the question? What are we starting with?
Just go ahead and tell folks a little bit about your gaming background and some things that you'd like to see on the channel outside of Leviathan, which we will be talking about tonight.
Yeah, sure. So I jumped into tabletop gaming with basically Star Wars Armada back in 2017/18. And I mean, obviously, if you've heard of Admiral Tater, you know how much I enjoy Armada. And I rode that game out till as long as I possibly could, really. I still play it, but obviously discontinued, so I'm looking at new horizons. As far as other games, yeah, absolutely. The Cyberpunk game by Monster Fight Club. I think they got a Witcher game coming out like it too, and I really like The Witcher, so I'm really interested to see how that goes. And then obviously Leviathans, like you said. And then I really like fleet combat. I know that Drop Fleet, like Command Zone, I think is what it's called, has been talked about a lot.
Fleet Commander.
Something like that, yeah. It looks pretty good, although I hate that I have to build and like paint these tiny little models. So I just I'm not a big painter when it comes to models, and so that always keeps me out of things usually. And then obviously, let's see. That's all I'm really looking at right now, honestly.
All right.
Uh,
And
yeah.
as far as painting's concerned, I do have somebody hoping to bring them into the channel crew that is really, really an amazing painter and will hopefully help us out with some miniatures and such. So, Ruben, what about you? What's your background in tabletop strategy, and what would you like to see here?
Sure. I started wargaming particularly in 2008. Um, Maybe even earlier than that. I started with a 15 millimeter World War II war game called Flames of War. It's still in active development. A team out of New Zealand does the production for that. And after that, played a few years of that, kind of got out of wargaming. Then right after college, got into 6th edition Warhammer 40K, played 6th and 7th edition, went to my first big event, which was Adepticon in 2014. We played the teams event, had a great time. I I've grown as a painter since then, and I do actually enjoy the building and painting aspect of the hobby. I play Ultramarines and Imperial Guard. I love my Space Romans, and I love my since I can't play World War II history games for real, I play fake space World War II history game. So that's why I play Guard. Um, got out of Warhammer in after 7th edition because anybody that's played any Warhammer, you know how bad those two editions were for balance. Got into Armada in 2020 when they were doing all the deals on Amazon. So I was buying up ships left, right, and center for way cheaper than the MSRP. And happenstantially met Garrett that way, actually, because I bought up all the ships and then I was looking for components to measure everything. And I found this guy on Etsy and I was like, oh man, these look really nice. I don't think I'm going to put it in an order. And he's like, where's your shipping address? And I'm like, oh, Lexington, Kentucky. And he was like, we're playing. And that's how like this, me and Garrett and Nick got started with all this funny business was just happenstantially through that.
Yeah.
Um, I've competed in two worlds, two worlds events. That was 2023, 2024 worlds. I've won multiple store championships. I think it's like 3 or 4. I don't remember. Um, I now also play like 2 RTTs a month of competitive Warhammer. I'm getting into the GT scene. That's my big like extra thing outside of Armada and now Leviathans is playing a bunch of Warhammer because you know what happens. You get a friend, they play Warhammer, and then it just slowly consumes your entire friend group of gamers.
Warhammer is a disease.
Yes, but it's a fun
Really,
addiction. That's the
a
thing.
really
It's a fun
financially
addiction.
successful disease.
People say the same
Yeah.
thing about cocaine.
I mean, I'm having a blast, y'all. Okay.
With the
Um,
cocaine.
let's see here.
It's a
What was
it's a
the
great
game?
it's a great time while it's
Honestly,
running.
I, I'm legitimately curious about this StarCraft war game because I played a hell of a lot of Brood War when I was a kid. I love that setting. I love a bunch of the characters, and I'm really curious to see how they take
Yeah.
that game and IP and put it into the tabletop.
I'm so concerned about any tabletop game that uses IP at this
I
point.
know, right? At this
I'm
point,
just
after
like,
AMG,
after
What
that, after the
what's the
Battlestar
lifespan?
Galactica,
What's the
right?
lifespan on it?
Right.
yeah,
I don't think
for
people
sure.
realize like how much we missed out on when they canceled that Battlestar Galactica game. It was gonna look it was on the verge of getting the Battlestar
It
Galactica
definitely looked interesting.
next. Yeah, what a bummer. All right, anyways, Nick, your turn.
Yeah. So I'm Nick. Um, so I have a much less experienced background in wargaming. So my first game was Star Wars Armada in 2020. Um, I
Like
would
me.
yeah. So for me, I was much more a board game and RPG player. We did like Dungeons and Dragons, Pathfinder, all that stuff through college. I've always loved board games, particularly like strategy games. Um, namely like Twilight Imperium, right? It's the big one that we love, and so I always loved this, strategic gameplay. Star Wars Armada got me because I'm a big Star Wars fan. And for me, I do not, kind of like Garrett said, I am not drawn to the hobby of wargaming. I don't like the building, the painting. It just takes too much time. I want to just play the game. And so Ruben showed up one day and said, "You want to play Star Wars Armada?" And I said, "Oh, you know how I feel about war games." He goes, "It's
And I was
pre-built,
like,
pre-painted."
but it's pre-painted. And he was like, I said triangle?
Yeah. So
And he was dead to rights.
it got me.
Gone.
Yeah, it got me in. I was hooked immediately. Once we got sat down with the maneuver tool and was just trying to navigate flying a Victory Star Destroyer, I was like, "This game's awesome. I love this game." Um, so I've been playing Armada for 5 years now. I've also gone to Worlds. I've played all over Kentucky. And if you know me, I can be a competitive player, but I definitely like to experiment a lot more. And so I like to really push weird builds. I like to try out new experimentation, just see what kind of works and have fun doing it. I play a little bit of Warhammer 40k, not into the competitive scene as much. I mostly play it because everybody around me plays it, and now we're getting into Leviathans. So Leviathans is pretty cool. It really scratches that same itch where Armada with the tactical gameplay, kind of going back and forth, measuring your maneuvers, kind of gauging your speed. That's really fun part of that. So, but as far as like going with the future and stuff, I do enjoy conceptually. I enjoy like skirmish games, and now that I have a little more time in my life to maybe experiment, I wouldn't mind trying some smaller games. I've been kind of following, and I haven't told anybody else here because that doesn't really come up very often. I've been kind of following Halo Flashpoint. Actually, Chris, I see the Blood. I might try Blood Bowl if you bring it out, and I'll learn it.
Third season just came out, so
I'm always down for trying something new. That's me. I just like games. I like digging my teeth into something new, experimenting with it, and seeing how I put the puzzle together. And so, like, even with like Armada, even though the game we haven't seen anything new in years, other than some small changes here and there from like the community. Just sitting down with something different for once, just try to make something work. But that's starting to get cyclical.
Now, I know our friend Joel is watching. I am going to ask you a favor, Joel. If you hear anything weird coming out of my audio, please let me know, because I want to know if this is actually coming over on the broadcast. But with that, I want to thank you guys for joining us, and thank you for being part of the Armada team for so long. And now we're going to transition. It's great that Nick mentioned that he likes the skirmish size games, because that's the kind of games that we are going to focus on here. But right now we've got a really big emphasis on Leviathan because, well, it's new and it's exciting, and there's a lot of stuff to try out about it. So let's go ahead and get started. And go ahead. I guess Ruben's actually felt like the banner waver for this game for quite some time.
Game. Game.
So tell us what people need to know about this before they get into it.
Actually
First off, I forced this upon everybody.
He showed me boat game, and I went, boat game?
Yes. I was gonna. You'll talk, Ruben, but I would say Nick had a perfect segue. Armada, pre-painted and assembled. Leviathans, pre-painted and assembled.
Pre-painted, assembled, absolutely.
Take it out of the box, start playing immediately. All right, anyways, now go.
And you don't even need, it's one sheet of punch board, not 4, which is actually a big deal.
Yeah.
When you think about it.
There's like 4 tokens, which is fantastic.
It's great.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing that's great is that the map is not nearly as big, so you don't need as much space to play this game as you do Armada.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
You don't really realize how much real estate you take up in the store at playing a 6x3, like a Warhammer size game, or 6x3 Armada Legion size game, until you put one of these 27x33 mats on the table and you go, oh, wait. We could put 4 people around the same table? That means I can take the same location same venue, same great vibe that Chaotic Good has. That's our local store here where we live. And I can pack double the people into it on a regular Thursday game night if we get that big. And that means it's double the people buying coffee and donuts and looking at the board games there, enjoying the vibe, making the store look full. And like
That
that's
reminds me, I've got to send them a message that they need to start stocking product.
yeah, we're
Yeah,
all gonna be
for New
bothering them
Year's.
for that.
I gotta
Um,
like put in a big pre-order of something just to like stoke the fires.
mhm. Apparently, we got to get all these Italian players that are wandering around out in the wild that want to challenge me for Italianship when I'm like the least Italian person, which is also really funny. But
Three
I guess,
words: movement is life.
yep, you got to go fast. If you ain't first, you're last. You know how it is. For me, I'm gonna just start with the pros. So I did a T chart for this. I'm an organized guy. Um, the first thing that really grabbed me about this game was the torpedo tokens. Honestly, the torpedo tokens. Just how they work and how they really imply how a torpedo in the wet navy in actual history works. It got me hard. I saw that rule and how that stuff worked, and I went, ooh, this is historical but fantasy. So the tactics you use, the strategy, how the game works, it really infers the feeling of World War One naval combat. There's and it's not a game design out of the 80s where it's nothing but 15 hit tables where you're rolling 2d6 and adding single digits together. So one roll, it's clean modern game design. You roll one group of dice, you get the result, it's done. So the game plays pretty fast. I think we can get it to 2 hours and 30, maybe 2:15. I mean, I've only played three real standard games so far, so I don't really know how fast we're really going to get. But it's not Warhammer 3 hours. And like Warhammer 3 hours is legitimately you are playing 3 hours. Like, it's not going to go much faster than that.
Yeah, I feel like for the speed, it's definitely because we're newer, and I think we sit there and spend a lot of time thinking about which dice we're picking up, and
Mm-hmm.
also thinking about where you could shoot. Because that's like the only sometimes unintuitive thing is looking at the ship base to the enemy ship base and calculating like, okay, it's a hex based game, so everything's based on like these hex rows. Uh, so it just takes a moment of thought, especially because you have to declare all your shots at once, which we'll
Mm-hmm.
get to.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but anyways, continue.
Next thing for me is that so after you here's like the narrative of it. After I engaged with these rules, I played a little bit, the boats felt like boats, and then we got to like the damage part. So like the guns have turrets and they swivel. The torpedoes go into the water and they go into the air water, right? And they like float in a pattern and you put them down in patterns because it's a hex map. And I legitimately y'all spent probably a good hour and a half, maybe hour 45, having a boat just like a battleship token on the map and putting the torpedo tokens down on it to see how I could get an optimum attack. Because I wanted to know. Because I think torpedoes are really cool. And the way that you optimally attack with torpedoes in this game is just like how World War II torpedo bombers made anvil attacks. And when I realized that, I went, oh, wow, this is amazing. Because I love World War I and World War II naval combat. If it's not clear already, I play Star Wars Armada, which is World War II air combat and carrier combat. And now I'm playing, as we could see behind Garrett, World War One dreadnoughts in the sky. Like it's clear that I love naval combat. So how the damage is applied and the breaking the keel rolls make the ships feel like ships. Because unlike Armada, where ships are kind of spongy, they don't really take a lot of like damage per se. The crits can be bad, but you're not like losing weapon mounts. You're not losing turning capability. You're not losing speed. So they don't feel quite like ships. But in Leviathans, when a ship gets damaged, it feels like a machine is getting destroyed and components are getting damaged. And that, plus how the breaking the keel roll works, where it's pretty random what can happen, makes it these magical emergent storytelling moments. Like last Thursday, I turned my battleship away from this cruiser, and Kate shot me in the rear, and I thought it was going to be fine. And that bracketing, like all these shells hammered into the rear of my ship, and then she rolled the breaking the keel roll and came up one short, and I was like, oh my god, oh shit, I lived. Did not expect it, right? And I'm driving, thinking about the game, and I'm like, oh man, that shell went right past the engine compartment of my battleship and blew up right next to it, but the bulkheads held, so my ship didn't blow up, right? That's the kind of story that comes out of these emergent dice wobbliness that I just have loved about this game.
Yes. Do we want to go do your cons next, or do you want to do pros from everybody first?
I mean, I got 2 more pros, man. I'd go all night about this game. Yeah.
All right.
Sure. I found that the standard play setup stuff, so for those who don't know, if you have bid, so if you spent less of your total 1,000 points than your opponent, you get to choose if you're a first player or second player. If you're tied, you roll off. First player gets to choose a mission. Second player bans that mission. First player chooses another mission. First player gets initiative at the beginning of the game. So that means you get to see your opponent deploy first. They have to move first. Second player gets to choose the map, which is really, really interesting because it's not only the map, but also the orientation of the map, which can get really important, and if there are clouds in the game. So all these layers of decisions before you even put any ships on the table make for really interesting strategic options and ways where you can optimize your play for particular fleets and maps. And I think, like, as a competitive player, that part of the game has got me really, really intrigued to optimize. And I'll just put the final one out there. So all of us here spent 5 years, well, more like 3, 4, listening to Will Schick and Will Pagani say, oh, we could do something. Yeah, we're not going to, Armada's still here. It'll be around. We're working on stuff, or not saying anything. And then they killed the game. I listened to Bryn at PAX Unplugged, late last week.
Yeah, Friday.
The man had an honest, earnest love of this game, a clear, honest roadmap to release and what's going on in the future, and actually answer questions. And I haven't had a designer for my boat games actually answer honest, earnest questions. So that was fantastic.
Yes, that's I think a huge thing is it's so weird to like be involved in a game where the people making it want to make the game and actually play it.
Like, want to make money. Who would think?
I think the coolest thing I saw was we had this question on Discord about bracketing in the game, and the playtesters took our question and sent it up to the devs, and within like a 2-week period, we had our answer back. Which was, listen,
fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, usually you wait like a year, right, for like an answer like that. I was like completely shocked because I didn't really care what the answer was going to be one way or the other. But I was like, wow, okay. If you're going to answer that kind of question that fast, I feel really comfortable if something in the game ends up being a problem that they'll attack it really fast. And get around to fixing it. Yeah. But yeah, what about you, Nick? What's your pros? What do you? I know you haven't been able to dip as much in as us.
Yeah, I've gotten the one standard game in, and then the one kind of a practice demo. I've read through the rulebook a couple of times, and I've watched the how to plays. Um, so for me, some of my pros, um, I really enjoy the uh, physical combat of the game. I think it is so interesting that they've set everything up around different color D12s that all have different. So, um, that you have, they're all D12s. All the dice in this game are D12s, but they're color coded. And so some of them are D4s where they only have one, two, three, four, D6s, D8s, D10s, and then a D12s. So the entire game is built around collecting a pool of dice, and the way that they have that built up mechanically makes every faction feel a little different, while all kind of being balanced around hitting the same kind of target numbers. And so I just find it really fun and engaging to sit there and count up your dice pool and be like, oh, okay, so I get a red die here, I get a blue die here, um, and then you get to throw your dice. It's for any kind of gaming, throwing the dice can be a really fun like high for
Cathartic.
the game. And so yeah, so this game kind of lets you pick and choose a little bit. You're going like, okay, I'm going to throw a D6, a D8, and a D10, and try to hit a 14. Do I get it? Do I get it? And so I really like the piecemeal way that they have set this up. And it's not like in Armada, and less so like in 40k and other games. Armada was kind of really big about the attacker-defender relationship, where I attack you, and then you have an entire phase, like a sub-step, where you're going to react to my attacking, which can get a little bogged down, especially if both players have like upgrades or mechanics that trigger in that same phase. So it's a lot of back and forth, a lot of back and forth. Leviathan is very clean, where you just pick up, you kind of know your target number more or less, and you just pick up a pool of dice, throw it, and if it hits, it hits. And there's not a lot of like, even like with things like screening are kind of done beforehand. They're not done in the moment, so you already kind of know the effects of any kind of defensive actions your opponent can take.
There's not a lot of defensive trickery.
Right, and so the game feels really clean, which, again, our games have been kind of long because it's been a lot more deliberating around like, okay, if I turn here, where does that put my guns? Which I think that's just going to be something that we will get better with over time. And so like right now we're wasting a lot of time in the measuring of the different like hull zones, the attacking, defending. Once that becomes a little more second nature, this game is going to be so quick because the mechanics they do not lend themselves to any kind of like prolonged gameplay.
I have to say that while I have not had the opportunity to actually play yet, I have watched a few games. I've gotten to see some of the basics there, and I definitely like the way that damage is handled, where you have the potential of actually taking something working off of a ship because you have done that kind of damage. The other aspect to it is that there are repair crews that you can use. The ability to actually use crews to get things back up. I have not dug deep into the way that those rules work, but it is definitely a concept that I find appealing. The other thing is, the lack of upgrades. The idea that this is your ship just makes it a lot simpler to play. I mean, prior to getting into Armada and X-Wing, I was coming from HeroClix, and HeroClix was, this is the card for your character. This is what your character can do. As it takes damage, it changes what it can do, but it's still all there on that same card. You are not adding things to it. There, with a few exceptions. I mean, there's always small exceptions, but for the most part, what you see is what you get, and that really streamlines the build process. But more importantly, it makes it easier for your opponent to actually understand what they're dealing with, and so they're not bogging down the game, asking you questions like, "Well, what does that do?" Yeah. What's that card adding? What's that for? I don't get it. So yeah, I like it is clean, and that means a lot to me as a war gamer.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for Leviathans coming from Armada, Armada already felt like a quick game for a war game. Um, because like yeah, okay, you could have long games where you hit your like 2 hour, 2.5 hour, mark. But like for the most part, I feel like Armada between two experienced players, you're looking like an hour and a half. Typically a sub 2 hour game,
Mhm.
which for like a tournament scene is pretty quick. Um, it's pretty good. It's a good middle ground between being like a pretty involved game, but not being like your entire day. Leviathan's being kind of even smoother mechanically feels like it's on a smaller scale, smaller map. Um, I will say I think I do love Armada's maneuvering system, but the kind of more freeform um, feel of Armada is where I think people spend most of their time in the game is just sitting there with the maneuver tool, flipping it
Mhm.
back and forth, just a click, being like, where will this put me? Where will this put me? Um, and so everything being on a hex grid just kind of says like you don't have to really think about it. You just go, I go forward, I'm going to turn here, and that's where I'm going to
And you
be.
get the
There's
full
no
information immediately.
I feel like though that's kind of like the worst of both worlds, because with the measuring tool, you're not completely freeform like you would be with like a measuring tape like you use in Necromunda for and Warhammer to move the miniatures. You've got a distance, but not necessarily a specific locked in movement that you have to be. Whereas on the other hand, you've got the quicker movement of the hex based movement with Leviathans. So that's definitely an interesting dichotomy, and seeing how that will affect the speed of the game is going to be something that I'm anxious to see overall.
yeah, not having to
Yeah,
measure ranges is crazy.
just being able to count the hexes out is really nice.
Yeah,
I also
it's
the
like
only thing
Mhm.
that will keep I think the thing that long term will keep the games longer is the fact that there's no like once you touch your model you can't untouch it or whatever. Because like you can kind of count out your hexes where you're going, and then keep a place on the board where you were, and like do a couple different moves to see where you can end up. I like that it's more freeing like that. I think that makes it a lot easier for people to get into the game. And so,
Mhm.
unlike Armada, where once your tools locked in, you're moving there, and that's it. There's no more
yeah,
changing. Um, so it's like it's a give and take there. But I already my top pro and con was getting people into the game with the pre-assembled and painted models. Buy it, open the box, play it immediately.
yeah.
Um,
And it's affordable.
Mhm.
oh yeah, we
Like
didn't mention that.
It's
we
Listen,
didn't even talk
super
everybody.
about that.
affordable.
Listen,
It's
everybody. It's 2025. You can get these ships for like less than $20, which, if anybody was alive in 2015, that's like what X-wing and Armada ships used to cost. What a time!
Mhm.
Uh, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that they're as good as like those X-wing and CR90s back then. That
Yeah.
was an unusually crazy good
Well, it's kind of
model.
hard to compare because
It
the
is.
the Star Wars pieces are just so iconic. This is
Yeah,
yeah.
but they were also just well made,
yeah.
um, like crazy good. These are still good, but I will not sit here and pretend they're like the Star Wars Imperial Star Destroyer, because they're not quite there. But they're still like, listen, it's a banging deal.
Yeah,
Like the
pre-built, pre-painted. I mean,
like a
if you want
core
to paint it,
set, yeah.
yeah,
Like a core set is like I think MSRP $60,
yeah,
and you get like a battleship, a
Battleship, cruiser,
cruiser,
two destroyers, and
two
your admiral
destroyers.
cards for
Yeah,
$60. Like I
and
get a
multiple.
Redemptor Dreadnought for
That yeah,
$60.
that's nice.
it's
And
so good.
that
It's
pack
so
comes with
cheap.
multiple. Like I think it's like you get two different battleship cards, two different cruiser cards. So it's not even like it's the one ship. You have a couple
Yep.
options. You can kind of build it out how you want.
Yeah. And when the game comes back to retail, because right now all it was Kickstarter retail backer stuff and individuals, but they sold ship card packs with all the ships in the game in one package for like $10. Um, that would have been like the equivalency in Armada or like X-wing would be like buying all the cardboard arcs for like $10. That's like how useful it is, right?
Yeah.
Equivalency, which is super cool. And then I think the board size is really good. I think one thing I always wished about Armada was it was half as small the models and twice as many models. So this is like half the size of Armada basically, and then the same amount of models, but on a half-size board. But the way the
get right
hexes
into
work,
the action.
Joel's
the way the
Joel's had
hexes
a
work-
couple of comments here that I wanted to throw in there. First off, he said, "I like customization Armada has, so I'm interested to see how Leviathan handles that long term." And then let me do the most freeform movement, or let me use a measuring tape, or let me do simple hex moves, and let me shoot with the extreme detail and specifics. My issue with Armada was the tool's inconvenience.
yeah.
So, I'm just
super
gonna make
component heavy.
here's like a general thing. So I've got this under why I'm positive about Leviathan's growth long term. And the biggest thing is that the hexes and the map and the movement is orders of magnitude less punishing for new players than Armada. Because when you play Armada and you are a new player, first of all, the community is small, so there's only people like me and Garrett and Nick. We've been playing for 5 years, and we're young compared to other people in the scene. You play against us, it's legitimately almost unwinnable because there's so much muscle memory to it and so much eyeballing to it and so much just knowing from just doing it over and over and over and over that you get this really strong visualization. And the game greatly rewards that visualization advantage. But Leviathans, you can be a new player, and as long as you're strategically sensible, you're not going to get punished by not being able to visualize how the arc line of the ISD is like slightly wider than you kind of expected, and then you ended up in the double arc, and your ship just dead, and your game's over.
Yeah. I also, obviously, I love Armada, but if you don't build efficiently with your upgrade cards, you're gonna lose, no matter what, to somebody who did build efficiently. And listen, it's obviously going to be similar in Leviathans. Like, you can't just bring the worst ships in the game and expect it to work. But like, you can only do so much, right? You can only do so much to help somebody. But at least in Leviathans, you can outmaneuver with ships. And once they get the point values more honed in with some of these ship classes and things, it'll be a fairer knife fight between two people, instead of just like sitting down at the table, looking across and seeing some weird list they've brought. Because it's fun. I agree. It's fun. But then all of a sudden they're not having fun when they're not
Before
winning.
CR90s take their lunch money. Yeah.
Right, or something like that. So yeah, it's give and take. But yeah, so another one of my pros is the measuring range thing, which we just talked about. I absolutely love just like counting them out. Even though I'm like the king of acrylic rulers, I really love the fact that I'm just counting out hexes. The theme is a huge pro for me. Rumu's mission, battleships. If you like Star Wars and you don't like World War II naval history, I question a lot
Why
of
you're
things.
here?
Because I'm like, that is like George Lucas was like one for one, how it worked, which is pretty cool. Anyways, oh yeah, so we talked a little bit about this, about how the ships feel like ships. It's not very good. I need to like share my experience.
Let me interrupt here because we have had a question on the chat there. So, what's the basic lore of this game?
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Sweet. Yeah. Go.
Yeah.
Garrett,
okay. Listen. So, alternate universe, time splits basically in like the late 1870s. The Europeans, a Polish scientist figures out how to like isolate this new mineral called eteroids. Okay, great. Then the Russian Empire has a scientist named like Zhukov who figures out if you like run alternating current through this resource, it creates lift. And then all of a sudden, everyone's like, what if we make our battleships float? Because they're the only thing being built at the time uh, with like steel holes and that are huge that you can fit the amount of electrical equipment you need in like 1880s technology to make these things float with like Tesla coils is like what they call them, right? Because Nikola Tesla is like involved. And anyways, so what happens is France, Germany, Britain, Russia, Italy, and all the like the little minor powers like Spain, Scandinavia, and Sweden. They like build float. Yeah, they build floating dreadnoughts, uh, and so leading up to World War One, the implications of like everybody having floating ships makes things really weird. Um, because all of a sudden landlocked nations or places like Russia who don't have warm water ports all of a sudden have like access to a navy that can fly across land essentially. And so wacky things happen, like the Russians win the Russo-Japanese War, uh, which like helps stabilize the Russian Empire. So like they're not as susceptible to the Bolshevik Revolution. France and England are like enemies basically because they're competing over resources in Africa hardcore. Because like France can compete with England now because of their floating Leviathan program is like on par. So like the Great Navy of England is not the end all be all of the world's oceans, right? And then Russia and England are also like enemies over Scandinavian resources. And then things like Germany is still in the same position they are in real history, where they're like, we need more resources so that we could be an empire too. And so they want to invade everybody, just like in real life. And then there's Austria-Hungary. So basically, it's the Great War. And then like what happens to trench warfare if you know
Everything
there are
flies.
battleships above you? All of a sudden, you're not building trenches. You're gonna start doing what the Japanese did in World War II, where you build underground, right?
Bunker.
And also, it's interesting where if you read some of the lore, because they got short stories, um, like like Japan loads up troops in Leviathans, flies across the South Pacific, and invades Chile for the resources of the things that make the ships fly. And then like France, like while Germany is advancing through Belgium, France like loads troops up in Leviathans and like flies over them and drops the troops off, like paratrooper style, basically, behind German lines. And that's not possible in the real World War One, right? But all of a sudden, all these weird tactics are possible, and so it really changes how the Great War would play out. So that's where it's at, and like the game starts in 1914, and it comes with two narrative campaigns at launch, which is crazy, right? Because like Armada got two campaigns over like
Total forever.
10 years, right? So except for like fan made campaigns like we tried to do, right? So yes, so that's the lore. So it's we're entering World War One, but like there's like flying battleships, and like that's the thing that's changed. There's no like weird steampunk technology and gadgets and like walking iron harvest like mechs and stuff. Like the only difference is like we have this weird technology that takes a ton of space, and ships can float with it. And so, how does that change stuff?
So, is there a faction for everybody?
I would argue yes.
Yeah, because we got okay. All right, tell them about the 5 that we launched with.
Okay, so the 5 launch factions. France, they're jack of all trades. They're not going to be the best at everything, but if you like that adaptive play style, France. Italy, they're speed and torpedoes and turret guns. Like they don't have any armor. They generally go faster, but not a whole lot faster. they're more maneuverable because they have much tighter turn radiuses than pretty much all the other factions, and they can spam out a lot of torpedoes.
Yeah.
Third,
A lot.
Germany. Saturation guns, so large caliber guns and armor. They do not turn. They have wide turn radiuses, and they generally go kind of slow. So they're kind of your tank faction. Britain. They are about as maneuverable as everyone else in the game. They're about as armored as everyone else. Their focus is on long-range firepower. So if you like standoff, sniping, Britain. 5. Russia.
Oh, wait,
Their
let Nick
ships-
talk about Russia. Nick gets Russia.
I can talk about Russia. Yeah.
Go for
So
it.
Russia's all about their experienced crews. So they have they have like pretty tanky ships, pretty maneuverable ships. They're kind of midline with some of that, like they're tankier than some of the lighter stuff. But their whole thing is their crews are more experienced, and so it makes their weapons more accurate and their repairing more accurate. Which can be a big deal as your battleship starts taking all these blows. And so Russia is. I want to play more games with them because they feel like they're very not really glass cannony, but they're very precise. You don't throw a ton of gun. You just throw one gun really hard, and their precision allows you to pick the slot you hit. So it helps with picking out the specific slot to damage an enemy ship.
So
Yeah.
that's the 5 that are going to be available on retail launch. Now, as of PAX Unplugged last week, we have it fairly confident that once per quarter in 2026, after international fulfillment is done for the backers, the next 3 factions will be getting a fleet box. Only a fleet box, so that's 1 battleship, 1 cruiser, 2 destroyers. All 3 factions already have 1 cruiser each, so you'll have 1 battleship, 2 cruisers, 2 destroyers. And that is the United States, which focus primarily on technology. So they have Tesla coil cannons that will blow up the opponent's Tesla coils, make them wobble in the air and make them less accurate.
They can do armor piercing is one of the things they can do. It's like you could just shoot right through someone's extra breach armor.
Mm-hmm. And they also have turbochargers on their engines, so they can potentially go a lot faster. U.S. is all about tech. It's very much like the EZ-8 Sherman and Jumbo Sherman from 1945. That kind of American diesel rolling stock car kind of vibe. Next faction, Japan. From what little we know from Bryn, the couple of designer comments, they're fast, but they don't turn very well, and their focus is on bracketing fire, so combination fire of saturation guns, which is the big guns. So they're all about shooting big guns together and killing you.
Yeah, it's so instead of turning, if they happen to maneuver correctly, with their limited abilities, they're rewarded with 1 shot can take out 3 of your
3 of your locations at once.
All at once. Which is pretty cool.
And finally, we have Austro-Hungary. Their focus is ramming. So these are still battle cruisers and battleships. In actual World War I, the primary doctrine before the development of the depth charge for dealing with submarines was to ram them. Also, destroyers were considered a rammable target early in World War I for naval combat. So it's not unreasonable to have the same idea in Leviathans. Now,
hello, Alvin Tan. We are talking about Leviathans right now, and pros and cons and factions that are available.
Yes. I'm sorry.
I can't wait to play.
Pros.
Wait to play a melee army in a space or a airship boat game.
Listen, the ramming in this game is amazing. It's gonna be fun. Absolute. Nick and I just love ramming.
Oh, you just are cavemen.
But listen, people. Listen. So in Armada, if you've ever played Armada or X-Wing or whatever, you bump, and then we each take a damage card, and that's That's like the end of it, and like you like move back.
hmm
No, in this game, it's like ridiculous. So like first off, you're like, all right, I want to ram. So
And
then you got
yes,
to
the
roll for
ships
it.
are pre-painted.
Yeah,
Yep.
assembled and pre-painted,
Pre-painted, pre-assembled.
and cheap. It's like very affordable. Listen, you ram, okay? All right, you roll off. You like your captain's got the guts. Austria-Hungary doesn't have to do that. They get the ram whenever they want. But anyways,
Not
uh,
entirely Armada. We are still playing Armada, but not all the time now.
yeah, we're branching into Leviathans, another naval fleet game. Uh, but all right, sorry, ramming, ramming. All right,
Nervous
so you
deal.
ram. Both ships take damage. You roll off, and like a smaller ship ramming a bigger ship, the chances of the smaller ship taking way more damage than it's inflicting is very high. Uh, and then because you're ramming, uh, you're displacing the other ship. So
hmm
like you hit it and it moves on the map. And if there's a ship behind that ship, they collide, and then they do another like ram with that ship, and then it can continue if there's a bunch of ships in a row, which is really funny. And then also you can ram somebody into a mountain peak, and
So
that's just devastating.
instead of islands, water game, we have mountains,
Yeah.
skyboat game.
So you like take a ship and like ram like a battleship into a mountain, uh, and just wreak
It's
havoc.
devastating.
hmm
It's super fun.
It
Uh,
really.
oh my gosh. And we've talked a little bit about the repair stuff. I want to talk about it more. So in this game, so like unlike in Armada, where you spend a repair command and like, oh, I get 3 points, 4 points. What am I going to spend it on? A shield, remove a card. No, in this game, you got to look at your ship card and be like, all right, I've got a gun down in the bow compartment one. The crew is dead or disabled up there. So I got to rush a crew from like the starboard side of the ship to the front of the ship, and then you got to roll for it to see if they can get the gun back online. Uh, and so perhaps they don't, and they fail. And this is that thing Nick was talking about with Russia, where they have like a better chance because their crews are better for whatever reason. Just kidding. It's like in the lore. Uh, and then like you can do that for like however many crew that are alive on your ship to like try and get like engines back online, because like you lose an engine and your ship will slow down a little bit, but just like in real life you got your boilers are compartmentalized, so like when your when your engines get hit, your whole ship doesn't get stuck in the air.
hmm
uh
So we got a couple other
uh
things here to throw
okay,
in.
yes, what do we got?
Yeah.
Couple of things from Alvin Tan. Love Garrett's Armada tokens, best ship shop in the
uh
universe.
Thanks, Alvin.
And Joel was asking, does the ram damage increase with speed?
Yes,
Yes.
there is
Yes.
momentum.
Yep.
You get more dice. The faster you're going, the more dice you get.
hmm
Yes.
Um, other thing about Austro-Hungary is that their crew is less efficient because they speak multiple languages, which was historically a massive issue for the Austro-Hungarian army.
Yes. It
Wow.
really
Oh, that's such a
Yeah.
cool detail.
Yeah.
So on top of that, so like that's the eight factions, right? And if you take a step back and look at the design of it, it's so good because the basic rules of the game, how there's guns and slot gun types and slot types and movement values and stuff. Each of the factions says this particular basic concept of the game we do better. And that's fantastic game design. So like if you look at Warhammer as a comparison, a lot of Warhammer special rules say we ignore this core rule, which can get really, really frustrating.
Yeah.
Instead, this game says, oh, Japan, we do saturation gun better. Great, right? Very clear mechanical separation, and you can build a narrative around that mechanical separation. Italy, we're all about turning tightly, and we're all about having a bunch of turreted guns on our ships. So we dagger into you, and then we fly past you with all because we can focus our guns way more efficiently than all these other broadsiding ships. The British, their guns get better dice when they're at longer range instead of shorter range, which is they're the only faction that does that. And that's like a tiny little thing that makes them wildly different to play because it's all about staying at range.
See,
and
I
how
was
their
leaning
guns,
towards
like,
Italians, but
turret.
now I'm kind of turning my focus and thinking about British now.
I, considering how much you've told me about how you like playing games, I think British is hand in glove, man. Absolutely dead to rights.
Although
I mean,
still,
look at that
movement
ship
is
behind him.
life, but
Look at the
man,
Connaught class. Look at that thing. Look
Yeah,
at the
it can
three
still
turrets
it can
behind
still turn.
Garrett. It
But
looks
like
great.
we keep forgetting to mention this, but there's admiral. So we keep saying there's no upgrade cards, but there are upgrade cards. There's admiral cards that
Mhm.
that give bonuses across your fleet or to like one ship or one type of ship. There's captain cards, and right now there's one captain per the 5 factions, and I would assume they have plans to like expand that.
Yeah.
And then we haven't said anything about this, but there's planes. There's planes too.
Yes, there's
Squadrons.
also biplanes.
And
sadly, we are
listen,
running out of time here.
oh my gosh, there's so much, like there's a lot of good stuff about this game. But yeah, there's planes. We'll leave it at that. We'll talk about it later.
Yeah,
They dog
yeah,
fight, yeah, they bomb.
we'll get into different aspects of the game as time goes on. But I want to thank you guys for being on the show, and yeah, I'm looking forward to diving into some new content. Keep in mind, we're not just going to be doing Leviathans. We're not just doing Armada anymore. We're going to sneak in a few other games here and there, but right now Leviathans is big, and we really want to get a really close look at it.
It's hot. All right, everybody, it's
Yeah.
hot. It's coming out the press.
Game.
It's hot.
All right, so with that, I'm going to say goodnight to you guys.
All right, goodbye.
Yeah, thanks for
Take
having
care,
us.
y'all.
See you, everybody.
All right, so thanks for joining the show tonight. Do want to remind you guys, because this week is Thanksgiving, we are not going to have our normal Mid-Rim Mayhem on Thursday night. But one thing that I do want to throw out to you is that Thursdays now is going to kind of rotate. We're going to do some Leviathans in there. We're going to do some Armada. But we are definitely going to be streaming everything through YouTube now rather than Twitch. Twitch is going away. We're in the process of changing the social media links and everything so that you don't have to worry about Twitch anymore. You're going to find everything right here at the 13th Fleet. We got the new logo. Hope you guys like that. But thank you for watching the show. I hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful evening.